Hi, I'm Sid Joshi. I'm the director for the product management of Enterprise Cloud-Ready Java product portfolio. We have an exciting topic to cover for you today, which is DevOps and hybrid cloud-native application management and monitoring. We have lots of critical challenges with critical business applications today, such as slow application development, ability to get new functionalities out in the box for the customers and for enterprises at a quick time. High cost to scale, ability to scale up, down, and sideways for your enterprises in a quick time and achieving very good cost optimization. It's very difficult to extend your typical application with modern innovative technologies or leveraging new innovative languages to gain the innovation and the dynamism that the enterprises might be required, as well as achieving an optimized way of infrastructure cost optimization, your software, your licenses, and getting more out of the existing investment that you might have. So these are the critical challenges that are bothering or affecting enterprises these days. Now, there is key benefits for moving your applications to cloud native, such as resiliency by design, ability to extend and add open source based solutions and capabilities quite easily in your existing implementation, getting elastic pricing to the functionality, so pay for what you use when you're using it, high degree of standardization and automation for the applications and the services that you're delivering for their enterprise, lower time to market or quicker time to turn around to the new business functionality that you might be looking for, easily getting scalability horizontally for your application, scale out, scale in as you require for the business requirement for that functionality and the services that you're building, and getting the full stack observability, ability to troubleshoot and pinpoint where the problem is lying in your application across your enterprise. Now, adopting cloud native is easier said than done. If you look at the CNCF landscape right now, there's so many projects and capabilities that are being put out there, from the orchestration management to the platform for governance, management, monitoring, troubleshooting, and ability to get even your container engine. You might be worrying or wondering which is the right tool or the right project for you. How do you have the right skill set? How does it all integrate together? Some are very de facto standards. Some are quite new and they might not be aware of the roadmap that they have. So it's a very, very steep learning curve for the enterprises when they're moving on to the cloud native journey. This is why we at Oracle, with the Enterprise Cloud Java team, we believe we can help our customers who might be Java EE customers or Polyglot customers or customers who are on the journey of cloud native adoption, to help them on the journey to that modernization and ease of use of cloud native workload. So we're not only taking our existing workload with, let's just say, WebLogic and Coherence, containerizing it and easily moving to containers and Kubernetes, but also helping you build the lightweight modern microservices with Helidon, and then the Verrazzano, giving you a single pane of glass to monitor, manage, and look after your container-based application workload from an enterprise perspective. Now, this is what I'm going to go into the bit more detail about. How do you achieve this? So Verrazzano is a completely opinionated, open source, secure container platform where we have gone through the CNCF landscape and picked accordingly the relevant open source projects which can work really well together and gives the best business value for enterprise, and providing this to you in an open source flavor itself to make it easier for enterprises to start playing with an open source project and use it in anger. With the curated stack that we have created, it makes it easier for you to install, set up, configure, and get rid of some of the learning curve of how does this project work together, how do I integrate these various versions together, and make it much more simplified and easier to use in anger. With the platform itself, we also provide you support for all the latest Java-based frameworks for building your modern microservices, such as Spring Boot, Helidon, and Micronaut. And also, when you're trying to run your microservices in the cloud, you also might want to have a microservices-ready state management engine, such as Coherence and in-memory data grid, to share your data between the different microservices or between the traditional application or just a layer in front of your database. We help you simplify to automate and rapid movement of your existing Oracle workload that might be on WebLogic to Kubernetes or even Coherence, and give you not only day one, but also day two automation around the services. We support any container that you can bring to your Kubernetes engine. So you could support any Polyglot workload, any Polyglot languages that you might have, and a mixed architecture. We also support you in the way of deploying your applications across multitude of clusters of Kubernetes and wherever they might be running, on premises, on Oracle Cloud, or even third-party cloud, giving you a consistent platform for all your application workload requirement to move it in a seamless fashion. Now, what have we got inside Verrazzano and how we put this all together? Let me go through that for you in a second. So what we offer is a complete intelligent workload management across any of the cloud native container environment that you might have, such as different flavors of Kubernetes. Application lifecycle management or DevOps enabled solution stack. So as soon as you deploy your workload, getting your security, your logging, your monitoring, everything set up in the right appropriate manner, easily setting up your observability as well, and multi-cluster infrastructure management. So you're able to manage your workload being deployed to any Kubernetes cluster wherever it might be running, giving you the confidence and strength around multi-level security, not only what containers can interact with each other, who end user can access your applications, but also the way it can interact with the backend systems. Complete level of security across the app tier, the user tier, and the data tier itself, and giving you this consistent platform across multitudes of clouds, or even a hybrid scenario where you're running your workload on-prem. So let's talk about first for your application stack, right? When you're trying to pull together all the various log information for a cloud native workload, we use Fluentd to aggregate, to pull together all this various log information that you might have from your services, from your microservices itself, or from an infrastructure tier on top of which your application is running. We use OpenSearch as visualizing or pulling together all this log information for you to be able to search through those logs in nice and easy fashion. From the metric standpoint, we use Prometheus to get hold of all the metric information for all the application in a standardized, simplified way, and have Grafana dashboard to nicely visualize those monitoring and metric information that you have across your cloud native applications. Then we use Istio as a service mesh for you to secure the way your services might be discovering each other, what service can interact with each other in an appropriate manner, or maybe even throttle the way the end user or different services can interact with each other as well. Kiali is a good way to visualize how your services are interacting with each other, what kind of volume of application or the services being invoked and involved on. So it's a nice way of even troubleshooting your workload in a nice and easy fashion. Rancher is a powerful tool to give you a single pane of glass visibility across your multitude of Kubernetes clusters that you might have deployed, may that be on-prem, in a hybrid cloud environment, or in multi-cloud environment itself. Jaeger is another cool tool for you to troubleshoot or find where your problems are in your cloud native application that you might be running. And it all supports your traditional workload, your Java workload, or even your Polyglot workload in a hybrid environment. So it's a great solution given in an open source way for a single pane of glass to manage, monitor any workload anywhere you're running from a cloud native perspective. Now, how we are achieving this is very simple. We use an open application model, a community-driven modeling specification driven by Microsoft and Alibaba, and Oracle is also engaging in that right now. It's very easy with open application model because you are building a definition about your application in environment agnostic way. That is complete separate of concern from a developer who's defining the microservices and the components that they're going to be building, and the application component itself, where you're defining to say what are the components I'm pulling together, what are the ingress traits, what are the scaling mechanism you would need, what is the identity management you need. And this is something that the support team or the operations team would be looking at to make sure that the application is taken out in a nice and easy fashion. So it enables you not only use the open source flavor of Verrazzano, but also the way you define your application is also done in a community-driven way. So there's no lock-in when you use Verrazzano. Now, let's talk about a bit about intelligent workload management that we do through Verrazzano. When you take an application, such as a microservice built in Helidon, and you define your ingress trait, Verrazzano will take that YAML file and say, hey, I need to create this namespace for this microservices if it doesn't already exist. I will create an appropriate security tokens. I will create your service accounts, the authentication and the authorization policy that you might need to interact with that microservices. If there's any service that I need to define or create, I will create that, and the gateway virtual services if there's anything required, my certificate management with Istio Service Mesh, and my Prometheus config map for getting hold of all the monitoring information. And I'll start pushing all the log information through to OpenSearch, and my Prometheus and Grafana will be pulling through all the monitoring information. All of this thing is done on the back end with Verrazzano and its operator to simplify the way you deliver your functionality. So it's quite a powerful way of delivering your microservices in the cloud native world. Now, the typical application deployment with Verrazzano could be you might have a complex application which have multitude of components. In an example, you might have 10 different microservices built with Spring Boot and Helidon and other generic components you might have. Or you might even be taking your existing Java EE workload like WebLogic workload and in-memory data grid like Coherence and defining it as a single application, the right ways interacting with each other, deployed through Verrazzano, and you get everything set up for you in the backend, including the way the services will discover, interact with each other in a secure and protected manner, and then start pushing out your log information and your monitoring information in a simplified way. And the same application definition, you can just say, hey, I'm going to deploy this to the cluster on-prem on my managed cluster 1, or part of this application is to be deployed on managed cluster 2, or another part of completely different application you're defining or deploying to a cluster on a third-party cloud. Or you might even say, I'm going to deploy this application on-prem for my production use, but for development purposes, I'm going to deploy it on a cloud environment so I can quickly turn it around and just pay for whatever you want to use. So it makes your life that much easier. So you can take multiple workloads and deploy it across multiple Kubernetes cluster, all from a single pane of glass. Now, as I said, we have made it much more easier for customers who are already existing WebLogic user or Oracle's Enterprise Cloud in Java solution users to take their applications, containerize them, and run it in a container world on-prem or in a hybrid cloud environment. With Verrazzano, we have also got a tooling with WebLogic and the WebLogic Kubernetes toolkit itself, which helps you take those workload and deploy it easily through Verrazzano in a cloud native environment. And the way we do that is by introspecting your existing WebLogic domain, generating you the appropriate files, deploying to a repository, and then deploying through Verrazzano YAML itself to say, run my workload in any Kubernetes cluster that of your choosing, making the journey to modernization that much more simplified. Now, Verrazzano is available as an open source platform. It's available as part of WebLogic Suite entitlement, and you can also subscribe to a subscription for the support if you need for Verrazzano, or just use it as an open source itself, but have a look at it. I think it's a very exciting project. Now, we did say it's DevOps and hybrid cloud native environment management and monitoring. So let's talk about DevOps, right? It's a quick and easy way for you to deliver your net new functionalities and give you business value add in a consistent, repeatable way, where you have accountability of how the functionality has been delivered in a secure, standardized way, and having faster, better code with much more frequent releases as well. Now, for this, if we talk about where does Verrazzano fit and what is the typical solution, in typical DevOps or CI/CD world, you will have project management, issue tracking, your code management, build, deploy, test, then you secure and monitor your application stack. So where Verrazzano comes into the picture is from the time you deploy your application to a cloud native environment, then you test it and secure it and monitor your application when it's running in a cloud native world. That's where Verrazzano will come into the CI/CD world for you. But if you are looking for a typical project, for a CI/CD world, you could use Jenkins, had some GitLab for doing automated build and delivery of those kind of container images, or you could be using Visual Builder Studio from Oracle Cloud or OCI DevOps services, which will help you do the building, deploying, as well as creating your code repository and issue tracking and everything else as well. So that's a good way of understanding your CI/CD world from a DevOps angle. So for our demo today, I'll be using Visual Builder Studio, which helps you do the planning to code management to build, test, and release itself. Now, in my demo, what I have is a microservice that I've built as a hello world in Helidon with MicroProfile. It's stored in a Git repository in Visual Builder Studio. I've done the automated build and delivery pipelines in Visual Builder Studio as well. So as soon as I do a code change, it builds up my container images. It will deploy to OCI Container Registry. and I will deploy my application through Verrazzano into my Kubernetes cluster that's running on OCI, and it will start scraping and giving me the information through Grafana, Prometheus, and OpenSearch dashboards as well. So giving my single pane of glass. And I'll talk you through Verrazzano itself. So without further ado, let me go to the demo. What I like to do is talk you through to our demo. So right now, if you see, it's a Hello Helidon app, very simple to say, hello, welcome to Verrazzano DevOps demo for Oracle CloudWorld. If I refresh, I'm just putting some paste through this, so that's okay. Now let me take you to Visual Builder Studio, where we have projects, where you've got Git repository, automated build and delivery. So let me just quickly go to my Git repository and change my code. So it's just the automatic build and delivery of the updated microservice. And then we can, wrong place. And we can then go through the Verrazzano itself. Let me just do welcome to Hello World's demo for on Verrazzano. Okay, so I've just committed my changes, and if you can see, as soon as I've committed it, in my build side of things, it's already kicked off a build in the build queue. Now it's waiting for execution agent, and then it will just execute my pipeline. Where in my pipeline, I'm doing initially building my Docker container. I'm going to push it to container registry on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And then I'm going to update my deployed application through Verrazzano. And it's just, then we're going to see the updates and update over here. And all the time, the application is always running itself. So if I see, I've done the multiple deployments, but we can go through that in a second. But Visual Builder Studio is quite an exciting product itself for your DevOps requirements. So if you have one, if you haven't looked at it, do look at the other sessions on Visual Builder Studio on itself. So without further ado, as the build queue is going and execute is assigned, it will take a few seconds or a minute for it to do all its work. Let's go through Verrazzano itself. So if you look over here, I've got Verrazzano deployed. Currently, I'm using 1.33 flavor of Verrazzano. It's currently using a development profile. I've got two of the profiles, which is like development, which is everything together in simplified installation, or I could have a complex installation where I've got a production environment and I've got a managed environment. So if I have a production flavor where I've got the admin in one place and I'm managing the multiple different deployments of Verrazzano in a managed instance where only a subset of components are deployed to it. So it makes your installation less complex. Currently, my admin cluster is a local cluster. If I've got a multitude of clusters, you will see it over here. And various browsers, as I said, we have Rancher, Keycloak, and all that. So you have appropriate links to access those services in itself. When I've deployed my application, I have defined it as an OEM application. So I've got two applications deployed over here. One is a Bob's Bookstore. It's built of multitude of services, such as it's got WebLogic domains, it's got coherence clustering, it's got Helidon microservices. So it's a very complex, typical, modern cloud native solution you might have, which is multitude of services. But for our demo purposes, I've just kept it very simple, and I've just got a basic Hello Helidon application. So let's just go back. If I have got multitude of clusters, Kubernetes cluster, they will be coming up over here, and same with the project itself. So let's just keep it simple, and you can see all the various running states and all of those things. So right now, I would like to show you the typical log information that you would see from Prometheus, the metrics information that I pulled together. So if I go to Prometheus, and if I see hello help Helidon call, you can see that there are two various versions that were there, which was being invoked. If I see my graphical interfaces, then over 2 hours period, I have two different flavors of my application that were running and executed. So all of this data, it's better to visualize in a nicer way. So we will look at Grafana to see how this data could be visualized in a nice and easy fashion, that metric information. So with Grafana, you get a multitude of dashboards that are provided to you out of the box. So we have like WebLogic dashboards, we have OpenSearch dashboard where you can see all the data and information pulled together for OpenSearch. You got Helidon and Coherence dashboard. So if I look at Helidon dashboard right now, it's showing me Bob's Bookstore, but you can see the CPU load, the GC, the garbage collection that's happening, my important metrics information around thread count and idle load and so on. If I look at my Hello Helidon application, you can clearly see the CPU load for my application, the GCs that might have happened, and the number of instances it might be exposed across. So this might be my current container where it's running fairly quickly. So you can see that in a nice and easy fashion. And you can also see across a multiple Kubernetes cluster as well. So if I have across multiple Kubernetes cluster, I can just choose and see all the visually. For my WebLogic workload, it's quite easy. You can see the systems running, deployed application, your managed server information itself, and your session data, JMS data. So all the typical information that you might be looking for, you can easily see that. And you can add your own dashboards as well on top of it. So there's a lot of interesting customizations you can do on top of it over here. So that was Grafana and Prometheus for gathering all the metric information and visualizing it in a nice and easy fashion. Now, you can't see Fluentd in a nice and graphical way, but let me show you the OpenShift dashboard where you can go through the log information in a nice and easy fashion. So if you go through OpenShift dashboard, I've already created a view on my Hello Helidon application. So if I look over here over the last, let's just say 1 hour, I have been, playing around with my application for little bits and pieces, but every time you can see I've got 147 hits to my application, and every single hit I can see the log information over here. And if you've got quite advanced query, you can do that kind of query and search through all the various logs that you might have in your application and troubleshoot it in a nice, exciting way itself. So that's your OpenSearch dashboard. Then let me quickly show you. Istio is a way you will, do your service meshes, discovering your microservices and protecting it. But a nice way to visualize it is with Kiali. So I'm in Kiali right now. It's a great tool to help you graphically visualize the way your application is functioning. So I will typically select my appropriate namespace. So if I choose Hello Helidon, and I want to see the traffic of my application, or I might want to see the total messages that have happened to my application over the last 1 minute or so, and I want to see the version graph or even a service graph for my application, you can just see it is nice visually. As you can see, it's a very simple implementation. There's nothing exciting happening over here. But if I just start putting some load through the Hello World, so actually right now, as you can see, the application is updated, CloudWorld on Verrazzano. And I'll just go to Kiali. And if we go to traffic, actually it's the workload graph for the workload that I was putting through, but it's like the total number of requests and the total success rate and so on. But if I take something complicated, let's just say if I take Bob's Bookstore as an application, you can clearly visualize that the application is quite complex. It's got some stocking applications, got front-end admin server, it's got managed servers, the WebLogic domain. You can see the kind of protocol is being used between this application. And if there's a load going through the system, you can also clearly see that how the loads are performing your inbound and outbound traffic. So it's a very nice thing to visualize and to troubleshoot and support your application functioning as well. And you can clearly see the different versions of services that you might be running. So it's a good way of understanding and troubleshooting all of that. Now let me quickly show you Rancher, which is your multi-Kubernetes cluster management tool. So if you have multiple Kubernetes cluster deployed and managed through Verrazzano, you will see it all over here. Depending on the name of the Kubernetes cluster you define, you will see the version of Kubernetes cluster you're using, how much CPU and memory you're using. So let's go into the bit more detail by selecting on it. You can see the number of pods deployed to that Kubernetes cluster, number of cores being used, the memory being used. You can see on the workload side, what are the kind of applications that are being deployed. You can easily go into, let's just say, Bob's Book Helidon stack, and you can get more detail of that pods individually. and further detail and interesting insights. But if I go through all the pods, I'm going to see my Hello Helidon one, so you can clearly see on the namespace way itself. So this is the pod that I've deployed. I have various containers. I've got various conditions that are being met, recent events for my application, my related results. So nice and easy way of visualizing all those deployments that you have done and any supporting activities that you might want to perform. If you look at virtual services that you might have, you can easily see the services that were created for your application, the number of gateways that you might have required for your application itself created, and any rules that you might have to create for your application for the way the traffic moves around, including the way you could do your service discovery for your network policies. You can clearly create that in a nice and easy fashion and visualize it through Rancher itself. Now, if you've got a multitude of clusters, you can easily do that, or even search through the specific namespace of your application. So it's a very nice and powerful tool to manage your cloud native workload from one place itself in your Kubernetes cluster. Now, we quickly talk about Keycloak. Keycloak is the way you would define your security requirements for your applications. To say, you might create which are the clients you want to have for your applications, what are the client scope that you want to have for your services or functionalities, what are the application roles you want to create, the identity provider through which you want to connect and do your single sign-on or authentication, authorization, and all of those things, the kind of user federation and other things you want to do. You can easily do that through Keycloak, and a nice and easy way to manage it all together. So as you can see, Verrazzano is a complete platform where we're not only pulling together all the CNCF products in the one umbrella, we're making it easier by providing a simplified way of installing these things. So with the use of Verrazzano operator, the whole platform can be set up in a matter of minutes. And all these components are installed and configured for you. You achieve application monitoring information in a nice and easy fashion. You get richness is the way you're getting all of the log informations together, ability to manage multitude of Kubernetes cluster from one place, ability to secure your application using Keycloak, and troubleshoot with the advanced way of viewing with Kiali as well. And not only that, we also give you intelligent workload management with the OAM model. So as soon as you deploy your application through an OAM model, we give you all the benefits around security, standardization, monitoring, and all of those things as well. So Verrazzano is a very exciting project. It's completely open source, and it's community-driven project adoption of OAM application definitions, and making it much more easier for enterprises to leverage and not be vendor locked in with any of these tools, and making it easier for you to get all this tooling integrated and offered under a single umbrella. So with that, let me finish the demo and say thank you for joining me for this session. I'm Sid Joshi, and it was nice to meet you virtually. Thank you and take care.